All right, detectives. Carmen Sandiego and her gallery of rogues have struck again. This time they sacked St. Louis. Last night, as the gateway arch glittered and glowed in the moonlight, Robo-Crook, that hunk of metal masquerading as a man, became so taken he took it. Your mission, Gumshoes, run down Robo, return the arch to St. Louis, and then capture Carmen Sandiego. Get her. Oh, Lynn Thigpen. She was great as the chief. And Rockapella? Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? The Jays. Where's my magnifying glass? And don't even get me started on the animated series Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, with Rita Moreno as the voice of Carmen. Brilliant. Sorry, I just finished binge watching The Residents on Netflix, and it reminded me of my absolute love for a good whodunit. What am I talking about, and where does this obsession with sleuthing come from? Oh, and what not to do during a fire? Stay tuned. It's the Dex Vidal Show. I remember really getting into detective stories as a kid. My class would spend time in the school library, and I'd ask my friends what they were reading. One of them put me on to, wait for it, Encyclopedia Brown. For the youngins out there, before I get into that series, what is an encyclopedia, you ask? Well, back in the days when there was no YouTube or Google, whenever you wanted to look something up, there were these books called encyclopedias that gave you information about a subject in alphabetical order. There was also this series called Encyclopedia Brown, where this 10-year-old detective would use his smarts to solve mysteries for the neighborhood, and sometimes even his dad, the police chief. And as a reader, you're given all the clues to test out your own sleuthing skills. I thought it was so cool. I also remember loving the Dick Tracy movie that came out in the early 90s. You know, the one starring Warren Beatty and, oh, I don't know, that artist called Madonna? Yeah, she played sultry lounge singer Breathless Mahoney. True story. I literally have the DVD right here. And I still listen to the soundtrack to this day. Bonus fact, the last track on that album? Vogue. Yeah, it was that era. Don't even get me started on Paris is Burning. That documentary? Obsessed. We'll put that to the side for now. That could be its own episode. Should I do it? Let me know in the comments. But back to Madonna. Dick Tracy. Do y'all remember when Warren Beatty and Madonna dated? Yep. They were an item at one point. And so cute. In 2016, Warren... I feel like I can call him Warren because he's a friend of the show in my mind. Anywho, Warren told People magazine, quote, "She's a huge personality, diligent and disciplined, and a spectacular dancer and performer. A phenomenon. She was perfect for the part. If your man wouldn't say that about you in an interview, you better express yourself." I know, but I had to. But yes, Dick Tracy, another one of my favorites. So when I saw this new series, The Residents, pop up on Netflix, I was like, I have to check this out. I mean, detective? Sold. Whodunit? Bout it. And a Shonda Rhimes production? Britney Spears, give me more. Let me put it this way. I started episode 1, and the next thing I know, it's dark out. And I'm still going because I need to know who did it. Yes, I binge watched the entire 8-episode series in one go. So what's it all about without giving it all away? Okay, so the story is this. One night during a state dinner for Australia, A.B. Winter, the head usher of a fictional White House, played by Giancarlo Esposito, is found... Bye-bye. Then, the DC chief of police brings in the most brilliant detective he knows. Cordelia Cupp, played by the wonderful and Emmy-winning Uzo Aduba. Remember her from Orange is the New Black? Mm-hmm. So good. Giving all the looks as a detective in tweed. Cupp sweeps in, won't let anyone leave, and starts to question witnesses. An FBI agent, played by Randall Park, who is assigned to help, can only just keep up with her. Who done it? Well, we find out Winter had issues with many people. Was it the president's top advisor? Was it the loyal staffer who was set to take over as head usher? Maybe it was the president's not-so-liked brother, or the over-emotional pastry chef. There's also the boozy butler, the president's mother-in-law, the social secretary, and an engineer in love. You gotta watch it. The answer makes sense. There's no, random person just popping up the last episode, just making the whole investigation dumb. We learn most of the evidence was there the whole time. Now, there are red herrings, which are kind of fun, when you can watch and kind of rule them out along the way. Not gonna lie, I was only able to figure out one of them. Ooh, and even more enthralling is that Detective Cup is an avid birder. With the binoculars. So her patience and her attention to detail are on point. She's also really funny, but in a dry way that gives me all the Agatha Christie Poirot vibes. Oh, those little gray cells. Side note, I can safely say I've read almost all of the books in the Agatha Christie Poirot series, and David Suchet playing Poirot in some of the films and the series, everything. C'est magnifique. Don't even get me started on Agatha Christie. I still need to get into Miss Marple, though. Don't at me. Anywho, if that didn't get you to watch, another highlight of The Residence for me was when they got Kylie Minogue on there, y'all. And she even performed some of our favorites. She's so fun. Thank you, Australia. And the Aussies? Yo, they know how to party. But that's for another episode. So speaking of whodunit, do any of you remember that there was actually a show by that name that aired for, I want to say, just one season on ABC back in 2013? Oh, yes. It was only 9 episodes, but I was obsessed. Also, you can still watch it today on YouTube. It's like if The Traitors, The Mole, and Clue had a baby. And I'm still here for it. And let me tell you, it is hilarious looking back at it now. On that show, the producers were definitely producing. Here's the premise. 13 guests, one of whom is secretly the killer posing as a contestant in the game, show up to a Beverly Hills mansion named Rue Manor. They're guided by the butler Giles, my absolute favorite, who does double duty also as the show's host. We find out that Giles and 2 maids are trapped by the killer on the house grounds until they determine who that person is. Giles is basically a puppet for the killer, who sends messages to Giles to read to the surviving guests. Each episode, at least one guest goes bye-bye, and after the shock of the event, Giles offers the remaining guests an opportunity to search one of 3 areas, usually the crime scene, last known whereabouts, and the morgue, to discover clues about how the bye-bye was carried out. Later, they participate in a riddle challenge that sends them running around the mansion. The guest who completes the challenge first receives an additional clue to help their theory. Guests are given a limited time to congregate, where they can share, withhold, or lie about whatever information they find from their investigations and riddle wins. After that, they each individually go into the library where they state their case to the unseen killer, including who they think he or she is. During dinner, Giles lets them know which guest was the most correct and is then spared from being the next victim. Then he lets us all know how it really went down. Next, Giles hands out the envelopes. Those with cards that say spared go through to the next episode. Guests revealing a scared card were the most wrong and are up for being the next victim. In the finale, the final 3 guests, one of them being the whodunit, compete in one final challenge, and when it's down to 2, the killer's identity is revealed and the other gets $250,000. Watching it back, I was cracking up at how we dressed back then. Those dresses? Those hairstyles? Remember the faux hawk? It gave me life. And I also love for dinner, the guys would either wear a full-on suit and tie, but not tailored, or a button-down with a vest. Remember when we just used to wear vests with everything, even with jeans? In the summer back then, I even used to wear a vest over a t-shirt and shorts, y'all. It was seriously vest time. Wild. I am also about all of the special effects in the show. I mean, you get people flying through the air, shaking like they just got shocked. Ooh, and even one character gets set on fire. Agatha Christie could never. Have you seen the show? Let me know below. Speaking of fires, that actually reminds me of a story from when I was a kid. Picture it. Houston. Late 1900s. I was in my room upstairs watching the newest episode of Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, and I got hungry. My mom was in her room across the way and she was napping. Now, if you've seen my other episodes, you know I am a firm believer in nap time, so I was not going to disturb her. Also, at that point, I knew how to make a few things for myself. Chef Boyardee Dex over here. So, during the commercial break, I ran downstairs to the kitchen to cook. I opened a pack of Pop-Tarts, s'mores I think, and dropped them into the toaster. Being the multitasker that I've always been, and knowing that the commercial break was about to be over, I ran back upstairs and was in my room just in time. Talking at the TV, I'm acting like I'm one of the detectives tracking Carmen. I was locked in when I started to smell smoke. At this point, I remember we recently had fire safety training in school. The fire truck pulled up, firemen were talking, the whole nine. Anyway, I was like, this is it. This is my moment to use the knowledge that I've just gained. I stopped, dropped down from my bed, and rolled back and forth on the hardwood floor for a good 45 seconds before I realized that wasn't solving the problem. So as the fire safety captain for the family, in my mind, I had to go to phase 2. I jumped up, covered my mouth and nose, and busted over to my mom's room. I shouted, "Mom, there's a fire. We gotta get out now and go to the meetup point. Where's the meetup point?" Coming out of her sleep and thoroughly confused about the entire situation, she goes, "Boy, where is it?" And giving no other details, I yell, "In the kitchen! I'm making our meetup point now, and it's across the street in the neighbor's yard." Then I scurried downstairs, flung open the front door, and ran across the street like I myself was on fire, and then just stood in my neighbor's front yard. I'm standing there for a good few minutes when my mom nonchalantly comes out to the porch in her robe and slippers and goes, "Boy, if you don't get back in this house." She had simply gone down to the kitchen, put out the toaster fire, and still tired from her last shift at work, was just shaking her head like, what is this child doing? Anywho, would I ever be good as a detective? I don't know. I am good at seeing through BS, and I can be very perceptive. Clearly, I do like a good trench coat, and I've always wanted a reason to say, "It's elementary, my dear Watson. The vibes were off." But I'm pretty sure there's a lot more to the job than that, so I'll just leave it to the professionals and the writers. I want to say thank you for reminiscing with me about detectives and whodunnits. I know I didn't get to Clue, Ghost Rider, Remington Steele even. Oh, Pierce Brosnan. What are some of your favorites? Let me know. I also want to thank you for subscribing to this channel while it's still finding its feet. That means a lot to me too. On that note, until next time, gumshoes, it's a done data. Bye.